Now I'm Mr. Christophe Litt, Head European Investment Bank, representation to Ethiopia and also to African Union to make your intervention.
Thank you, dear ministers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I've only arrived in Addis 2 months ago, so my Amharic is not fluent yet, but there is one word that I really like, and it also because it's easy to remember, it's a tolo tolo. So I will make it brief and to the point. I will try it at least. So before presenting the EIB and what we do in general, but mostly in Africa and Ethiopia, I would like to highlight two things. First, our willingness to be much more active in Ethiopia. So far, over the last 25 years, we have financed for about 400 million euro projects. Now we have opened an office in Addis, and our pipeline contains about 10 to 15 projects for the next 2-3 years, with maybe for the next year already 400 million euro investment. Also, the second thing is the willingness to focus more on the private sector and also focus on the support of the industrialization policy of the government. So EIB is a bit a strange animal because it's a European institution, but also it is a bank. It was founded in 1958. Our shareholders are the 28 EU member states, and it's not very known, but we are actually the largest multilateral lender, but also borrower, because our business model is quite simple. What we do, we raise funds on a regular basis on the capital markets at very cheap rate, because we benefit from a AAA rating, and then we on-lend those funds to our clients also at a low rate, just taking a margin to covering our functioning costs. So to give you an idea, last year we financed about 500 projects. We are active in 160 countries, and our headquarters are in Luxembourg, but we started opening more and more local offices. I was looking at the presentation of last year. We had 30 offices. This year we have 40 offices outside of Luxembourg, and next year we will have about 50 local offices. We have about 10 offices in Africa. Our staff is 3,000 people, but it's growing very fast. We have, of course, financial specialists, but we also have engineers, economists. We are a project-based bank. So for each project that we finance, we proceed to a full due diligence of all aspects of the project, socioeconomic, environmental, bankability. Last year, we provided financing for 80 billion euro, 90% in the EU, but 10%, so 8 billion outside of the EU, with about 1 billion in Africa. To give you an idea, this 1 billion can be divided into about 450 million to the financial services sector, so where we actually finance SMEs through local banks, microfinance institutions, and we also take equity participation in investment funds. The 500 million were financing of big infrastructure, which are also obviously key for the development of the private sector. The rest went to direct financing of corporates. So the main two sectors are financial sector and infrastructure. So what about Ethiopia? I was mentioning we have been active here for about 25 years. Now, so far we have mostly financed public sector projects, but as I mentioned, we have developed in the last 12 months an important pipelines of projects focusing on the private sector and industrial sector. Maybe the four most or more important projects in terms of the industrial sector. The first one is a project that we will sign by the end of the year. It's SME financing. So basically we will finance the leasing sector in Ethiopia with the World Bank. And the idea is for the Ethiopian Development Bank to manage this program. They will on-lend our financing to leasing companies, to leasing branches that are currently being set up by the Ethiopian Development Bank in all the country, and also part of it will go to local banks, microfinance institutions, to finance working capital for SMEs, always in the manufacturing sector. We have also shown great interest in the so-called Jobs Compact project, by which we intend to finance 2 or 3 industrial parks in the country. We had a meeting, a very promising meeting this morning at the office of the Prime Minister to decide together with our partner of the EU what could be the next steps. The third project that I think it's interesting to mention is the Mojo Leather City project. It's a project that we are working on with the EU delegation and UNIDO in close cooperation. UNIDO has already provided some very interesting feasibility studies. They need to be further completed. And I would like to say a big thank you to the Minister of Industry, to the Minister of Finance, because yesterday we received an official financing request from the government, so asking EIB to finance this project. The last and not least project is the agribusiness parks. We had already 2 interesting meetings last week and this week with the Minister of Industry, and we are also very keen to finance one of the industrial agri-business parks, the first one, on which we are also working closely with UNIDO.